Hi everybody. We're preparing a black drum, Gulf black drum today for Texas Sport Pack Catch, Cook and Eat fundraiser to benefit the coastal ecosystem. And this black drum, I'm going to season it with a little bit of salt, pepper, and some herbs. I've got fresh thyme, parsley, and a little bit of shallots, and some Texas olive oil. So then I'll season that with flour and I'm going to sear it, and we're going to do a horseradish crust, and I'll show you all how to do the horseradish crust. Whenever you flour anything, you always want to shake off as much of the exterior as possible. And the reason we're flouring and searing this is it'll allow the horseradish butter to adhere to the fish when it bakes. So it just needs a quick sear because it's going to bake fully with the compound butter, and I'll show you how to make the compound butter. The compound butter then bakes on the top, and when the fish is almost done, we'll put a panko crumb topping on the top of it, which will give us a crisp element with the buttery horseradish in between. The shallots and herbs give it a little bit of flavor, and then with the piquant spiciness of the horseradish and the crispiness of the panko up on top, we're going to also stripe that then with a roasted jalapeno crema that has a little roasted garlic in. And I'll tell you all how we're going to do that. All right, so here is our fish. Now I'm going to make the butter. So the butter is easy to make, but you have to make it ahead. So you take soft butter, put it in the food processor, a little bit of salt, pepper, a little bit of horseradish, and then this is panko crumbs that I've ground finely in the food processor so they don't have too much of a texture. So this soft butter then, you just put on a silpat, which you can use a silpat or you can just use a little bit of parchment paper. And then you smooth it out to the thickness that you want. And then when it's done, you just score it where you want, put it in the refrigerator. And I've got that already done. So I'll put this on here, stick it in a 375 oven. But the crumbs are real easy. They're just panko crumbs, the same herbs, a little bit of horseradish, and some olive oil. So this just gets mixed up. And then we're going to cook this fish till it's about 100 degrees. And then I'll pull it out and I'll top it with the crumbs and they'll finish. And that way they'll be crisp without getting too dark. These are jalapenos for the crema that's going to go on the top. And what I've done is I've charred them on a charcoal grill. And what I like to do when I char vegetables is just cut an outside slab off and lay them right on the charcoal. And the reason you're doing this is you're getting caramelization on the vegetable. And you're also tenderizing it. One of the tricks that you do is after you char it, you put it in a paper bag and you let it steam up through, and that'll loosen them. Now I did these yesterday. If they were still a little warm, they would peel easier. So all this really is the roasted garlic and the peppers and this crema. And we're using a Mexican crema, which is basically a thin sour cream. For the roasted garlic, this is what the puree looks like. What I do with these is I put them in a pan and line the pan with foil. And then I cover them with oil and I put a top on it and I bake them for about an hour. So they're soft, golden brown, and caramelized, and they puree very easily when they're slightly warm. And that's really all it takes to do the crema. Now I'll show you the grits. Grits are just corn that's ground. But I've soaked it here to show you, and I soak them overnight. But the top one is the bottom of the corn kernel, and it's tough and it's bitter. So this will all float to the top, so you take that off. And then you soak them overnight. Then you cook them in milk. And this is the consistency you get. And then I mix cheese in, some roasted garlic. Actually, I already have the garlic in there. And a little bit of egg. And then we bake these in a mold, and you bake them in a water bath. And the reason you use a water bath is so they don't scorch on the bottom. And they'll come out real cleanly. And it's real easy. You just put water in halfway up and use hot water. And you spray them very well with a no-stick spray because that's what keeps them from sticking. So you need to spray the top and all around really well, and then you just fill them. And I baked them for 30 minutes, covered with foil. Take the foil off, and then bake them another 30 minutes, and they set up. So this is the mold, what it'll look like with the top brown on it when it comes out. And you just pop them out of here, and they go right on the dish. They're ready to go. So you can actually do them ahead and then heat them up, which makes it really easy to do for a side for if you're entertaining. So you just put a little crumbs on the top, that butter. They'll brown quickly. And the last thing are the vegetables. And I've done these a little differently than regular Creole vegetables. A lot of times Creole, which just means Crayola in Spanish, and Crayola is like a box of crayons, colors. So Creole really is just a lot of different cuisines blended into one dish. So these are, I've used some of the oil that I roasted the garlic in, which gives it a really nice flavor. But I've taken, and I've cooked them all separately in the oil, and then I've added the fresh tomato and herbs, shallots, and cooked them down. And the okra, I just brushed the okra with the garlic oil, and I put that in the oven and roasted it. And the nice thing about that is then the okra has, it's lost a lot of its mucilaginous quality that some people dislike with okra, but it still has a nice fresh flavor, and it's a nice firm looking okra, and it's a premium item, so it's up there on the top of the vegetable. So I think the fish is probably ready. So you don't have to put the sauce in a squirt bottle, but it's an easy way to serve it then. And a little bit of fresh parsley. And we have black drum with a horseradish crust and a roasted jalapeno garlic crema. Thanks.